Now that I've gone back and watched through the entire series of Superman the Animated Series, what did I really think of it? To find out, stay tuned. Hello friends, welcome back to the show. So glad to see you all once again. And if you're new here, this is the show where I go back and look at cartoons and movies that we grew up on from the 80s and 90s. So if this sounds like something you might enjoy, click subscribe below and hit the like button while you're down there because that always helps me out tremendously. But today, we're talking about recapping the entire Superman the Animated Series. I just finished watching each and every episode, all 3 seasons or 4 seasons if you, depending on how you break it down. And I'm going to give you a few of my thoughts. Then at the end of this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's coming up next for me here on the channel. So be sure to stay tuned to find out what's next.
Make her last moments special.
So I started out on this channel reviewing Batman the Animated Series because that was one of my all-time favorite cartoons growing up and made me a huge Batman fan today. And just kind of following in succession of that, next was Superman the Animated Series, kind of interwoven with the new Batman adventures. This is now the 3rd series that I finished. 3rd, if you count Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures, a separate series, which I do. It's funny because each time starting out in the series, I look ahead and I see how many episodes there are and I kind of schedule them out and plan this all out. And it always feels really daunting to go, I'm going to watch each and every one of these episodes and review them and shoot a video and edit it and put it out there. And yes, it is a fair amount of work to put that all together. But then when it's done, I always look back and go, wow, that was fast. That was over like that. And the same thing with this. When I set out to do Superman the Animated Series, it seemed like a lot. And particularly because when I was growing up, this series was on in kind of my high school years. And I mentioned it before in a couple of the videos that I wasn't watching it regularly. I mean, if it was on, I would turn it on and watch it for a little bit. But I was by no means trying to watch all the episodes like I was doing with Batman the Animated Series. So going into this, I didn't really know what to expect from Superman because I wasn't watching it regularly. Whereas Batman, I had very fond memories of it and I kind of knew what to expect and I knew it was going to be good and I knew it was going to be great. Superman, I really didn't quite know what to expect. And to be perfectly honest with you, the first season was a little underwhelming.
Tell somebody who cares.
And I think the key mistake I was making in reviewing that first season was holding it to the same standards that had already been established with Batman the Animated Series. Those elements of that show that I really liked, like the dark film noir kind of elements and the mystery and all the clever creative villains and the new backstories of the villains. That's not what Superman is. That's not the type of stories that they are. And that's on me when I was reviewing it to hold it to that standard because they made no attempt, I don't think, to really capitalize on the success of Batman the Animated Series. It's really very apparent in the series, even just in the aesthetics of the episodes. It's a very bright metropolis, kind of world of tomorrow sort of design for the show. Just completely different. The line art's different and everything from the original Batman show. And they were trying to make it separate, and yet I was going into it with such a high expectation of what I saw from Batman and wanting it to be the same. Now, in all fairness, I do think that it took the show until the 2nd season to really hit their stride and start hitting on some really kind of clever stories and unique stories specific for Superman. It really, for me, took later in the 2nd season and even into the 3rd season before I really started to kind of embrace what the show was and what Superman as a character was and how they were delivering him in the episodes versus my own personal taste and desire for it to be more Batman episodes. And that just never was going to be the case.
This is getting lame. I thought he'd be here by now.
You know, at the end of the day, these are still my personal opinions about the shows. And I've enjoyed the comments that everybody's been leaving in in just talking back and forth and opening up kind of a conversation in these episodes. And some of you agree with me, and some of you have been very clear about disagreeing with me on specific episodes and have backed it up with why you feel this episode was done this way, or pointing out things that I missed in the episode that added more enlightenment. I want to increase more of that and develop ways in as I review the episodes going forward to engage with that more and to incorporate more of your opinions into these episodes as well. So thank you for all the comments and the likes and the shares. That just has helped me out tremendously, and it's been through this course that I've seen the channel grow faster and faster, which is very exciting.
Here, I made you a thank you gift.
And one of the things that I've said several times about Batman the Animated Series is that I don't think there's any bad episodes. There's just some episodes that are better than others. And I know I was kind of extra critical of some of the Superman episodes. And true, I think that there was some episodes that kind of fell into that bracket of just a powerful Superman fighting another powerful creature and battling out. But I would hold true to the same statement. I don't think that there's a bad episode of Superman. There's some episodes that are pretty far down on the list of my favorite episodes. But when you really kind of zoom out and look at what this show was and how it existed in time, it was huge. You know, in that time frame, a cartoon, an action adventure cartoon of this kind of caliber and this kind of quality was a great thing in the 90s. And it followed up Batman really well. And for a kid like me that grew up loving superheroes and hungry to grasp anything having to do with superheroes, it was a great thing to exist then. And yeah, I was a little bit older and I was kind of growing up as that show was coming out, but still for the generation a little bit younger than me to have that cartoon exist for them it is fantastic. And so I can't say a bad thing about it in that regard.
We must not forget the good times and the warm feelings we have for a colleague and a friend named Clark Kent.
So looking at the list of my favorite episodes of the series, yes, down in the bottom, there's a group of episodes that I would say are not that great. I would sit down and watch any one of them again. And I think it would even be different watching them now, not reviewing them, to just turn it on. And that's the great thing with DC Universe, the subscription series, that you can just pop on an episode and let it play. And that's a really cool thing. And so I would watch any one of those episodes again. There isn't an episode that I'd be like, I just can't. I can't bear to watch that. And really, it's not many. I would say from episode 40 down, Superman's Pal to My Girl, that group of episodes, I think, has some faulty elements into there. And then working our way up the list, kind of the middle chunk of the list from the premiere episode, The Last Son of Krypton, all the way up until Where There's Smoke, Little Girl Lost might fall into that category of good episodes, and I think they're solid episodes, and they all kind of have a different element. And this is where a lot of the episodes in the list that were kind of fit those different genres. There's a couple of that were more comedic. There's a couple episodes that are more sci-fi. There's a couple episodes that are more mystery. I mean, there's a neat assortment of episodes, and I talked about that a lot, how Superman could get away with kind of telling all these kind of different genre of stories. And then the next part of the list, I think, is leading into the top 10, which were kind of episodes that were really well done and well constructed. And I think a lot of those are even really close and could be kind of shifted in there. Most of them came later in the series, where I really felt like they were hitting their stride and telling these stories that fit Superman really well. And then you get into the top 10 list of the episodes, and looking across it, it's a really solid list. It isn't like, oh, the top ones are great, and then the bottom top 10 are not so good. I mean, I'm really confident in that top 10 list that any one of those are arguably great episodes of any show, of any series, of any action adventure cartoon They're just really well-crafted stories, well written, well animated, well acted, just really great quality. Now, yes, there's several of these that are kind of two-parters, and I know I joked that there's several of these that have other characters in them partnering with Superman, including Batman in that list, that I kind of joked that Superman needed Batman or other characters to kind of elevate his show. But I do think those stories were interesting. To take Superman and partner him with Batman and how different they are just made a really great episode and had great conflict and great interesting elements. And then we come down to the number 1 episode, which I just reviewed last. It was the last episode of the series. And if you haven't seen that, check it out, because Legacy was a great wrap up to the series. Was tied up a lot of great loose ends that were kind of started in the stories with Darkseid and that. More than anything, it was a Superman story. He didn't need any partners in it. I mean, yes, Supergirl is in it, but it was such a fascinating story. It belonged to Superman. So anyway, you can learn all about that if you haven't seen it. Watch that episode. But that makes up the list of my favorite episodes of Superman the Animated Series. I really enjoyed watching them back. Sometimes I would watch the episodes to review them, and I felt like I missed out that I wasn't watching these regularly when I was in high school, and I wish that I would have spent a little bit more time coming home from school and watching them. I was busy doing other things, but that's the great thing about television, is that I can watch it now and still be able to enjoy it and really look at these episodes that still hold up 20, 25 years later is quite an accomplishment in itself. Great fun, very enjoyable to watch the episodes back. And I hope that you as well had fun kind of watching along with me. And again, I saw the comments of people that were going and watching the episodes along with me to interject. Your comments and your feedback was very fun and very entertaining. One of the best parts about doing a show like this.
You flatter me, Brainiac, but I already have a day job.
So what is next for me here on the channel? If you've been around over the last couple of years, you have seen that traditionally, I have taken the summer off from producing regular videos to pursue other ventures. I do have a day job that I do aside from this. And then also over the summers, I have the last couple of years have done a summer theater Shakespeare festival. So I will be doing that again. We are now in the beginning of June, and I'm planning on taking off from the regular 2 videos a week for at least June and July. We'll see where things are at in August. I hope to be back in full swing in August. And I hope to produce and release a couple of kind of special episodes, whether they be movie reviews or some other kind of nostalgic videos that kind of fit in this theme. And I've got a couple of good ideas that you'll want to keep your eye out for. But when I come back in the fall, the question that a lot of people have been asking in the comments is, what show am I going to review next? I've now finished Batman and Superman. And certainly the overwhelming suggestion has been Batman Beyond or Justice League, which makes perfect sense. I mean, that is the next chronological jump in the series is going to either one of those series. And I get that suggestion a lot. So those are strong possibilities, but I also am looking back at some other shows, shows perhaps that fall out of the DC universe. The X-Men cartoon is another great show that I would like to review. But yeah, there's just a lot of great shows that I grew up on in the 80s and 90s. So I've had some thoughts about doing something a little bit different. Now, I will get back to the DC animated world, Batman Beyond, Justice League. That's certainly in my wheelhouse of things that I enjoy, and I want to continue on in that series. But we've been doing DC animated world for the last couple of years. I thought maybe doing something a little bit different, changing it up. If you have any suggestions of shows that you enjoyed that you would like to see me review, then put a comment below. Even if it was a short-lived series that maybe only lasted a season or something, it might be a nice little palate cleanser, something a little bit fun, something a little different to kind of shake things up. I'm open to a lot of different possibilities. And certainly this summer, I'll be spending some time kind of exploring some of those options, and even beyond just the episodic reviews of cartoons, but maybe some different types of content. And, you know, sky's the limit. There's also some big changes that are going to be happening over this summer that I can't quite tell you just yet, not to be a tease, but some changes around me are going to be happening. If you're interested in some of that and want to keep up to date and learn about those changes as they develop, you can follow me on Instagram. I'll be posting more about some of the acting work that I'm doing, some more of my day job sorts of things that are going on there, and some of the things that are going on that's going to affect this channel and change how I'm doing things. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And by all means, now is the time, if you haven't by now, click the subscribe button and also hit the bell notification so that you're alerted when a new episode comes out. Now, especially, that's very important because I'm not going to be releasing episodes over the summer on a regular basis, so you won't be able to just look for my episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but they're going to be coming out kind of randomly. And so if you want to be notified when one of those episodes comes out, just hit that bell notification and YouTube will push it out to you. And of course, I also don't want to miss an opportunity to thank you all for being so active and so encouraging and so engaged with me over reviewing these episodes. Yes, producing 2 episodes a week for YouTube is a lot of work, and I'm not complaining because it's very rewarding. But the reason why it's rewarding is because all of you. I've said it many times, and I'll say it again, that as long as people are out there like you watching these episodes and liking them and commenting on them, engaging with me, I'll continue making them. And that number just keeps growing of people that enjoy them. And I cannot thank you enough for being there because, yes, it's nice to have an excuse to go back and watch some of the cartoons that I grew up on, but you truly make it all worth it to enjoy those episodes with me. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. I truly, really appreciate that. And you make this worth it. And as always, friends, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.